Wondering whether now's the right time to jump into the housing market? With interest rates, home prices, and market uncertainty on everybody's mind, we've got answers. Before you make one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, listen to this. Waiting might cost you more than buying today. Let's see what the experts are saying about the market and what it means for you. I'm here with Emily Merbitz from Keller Williams. How you doing, Emily?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having me.
You have a long list of credentials. This is pretty cool. You've been a licensed realtor since 2014.
Correct.
You started when you were 10.
Yes, for sure.
Good.
I'm just a spring chicken right now.
And you're a team leader and owner of the Merbitz team at Keller Williams?
Correct.
You have a whole team of people that help you out.
Yeah, it's a small team, but small and mighty.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's great.
Holds a degree in business communication and marketing from UCF.
Yeah.
Very cool. Licensed real estate broker. So not only are you have a real estate license, but you have a broker license as well.
Correct. Yep.
Longtime Brevard County resident. I'm not going to say the years, but most of your life?
Yes. Yes, my whole life. I was born in West Palm, but lived in Brevard most of my life.
Very cool. I love it here.
Me too.
Specialize in waterfront properties.
Yeah.
Merritt Island,
Yeah.
Vieira. I guess we have a few waterfront in Vieira.
Yeah. Merritt Island is probably my biggest niche.
Cool. Consistent multi-million-dollar producer. And I love what you're known for is integrity, local expertise, and delivering results. That was very cool. I think I saw that on your bio.
Yeah. To me, nothing matters if you don't have high integrity. So it's got to start there.
Absolutely. We have a pretty fun topic today. It's been in my opinion, the biggest topic over the last couple of years. And it's really, should I wait to buy or should I buy now? Right?
Yeah.
Now, do you see this as a reoccurring theme amongst the people you speak with on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely. A lot of buyers are just nervous and not sure if it's the right time. And, there's a lot of outside influences.
Sure.
Everybody has an opinion on it.
Yep.
So, yeah, definitely a common struggle for buyers these days.
Cool. So what are right now, we're going to get into that, but what are the top housing market trends we've seen so far this year in 2025?
Yeah. For buyers, I think increased inventory is one of the biggest trends we've seen, which is great for buyers. They have more to choose from, which in some regards is awesome. In some regards is, now we've got to think about more things before we decide to buy, which could stifle some buyers. But higher days on the market, so they've got a little more time to make a decision. I think we're still seeing an increase in prices, but it's just a much slower increase than we saw, during COVID, which I call the unicorn years now.
Sure.
I'm like, wouldn't that be fun if we just sold houses in 2 days forever?
Yeah, right.
But obviously that wasn't a healthy market for long term. So I think we'll still see prices increase, but a little slower rate. And so I just feel like it's more of a balanced market, which is good for buyers.
They talk about increased in inventory, and we go from the extremes of having like a couple hundred houses on the market, right? And we're still not in an oversupply.
You're right.
So we've come in line with more of a normal market, 3 to 6 months of what do they call that, of
Inventory.
Yeah.
So in other words, if everything on the market sold, we would not be out of inventory for probably about 4, maybe 4.5 months, I would say right now.
Which is right in a balanced supply.
Yep, correct.
And so more options mean more options. Remember in COVID, people were like, "Oh, this is not what I'm looking for, but I'll buy it because I need a house right now."
You're right. People were waiving inspections and appraisals, and I think honestly, probably a lot of buyer's remorse going on during that time. So yeah, it's a benefit for buyers to take time and make sure they're doing the right purchase for themselves.
Yep. And you did mention home prices. Now, are you seeing that home prices are expected to go up this year?
That's what I'm hearing from top lenders like Morgan Financial and some just influencers that I follow that are pretty accurate, I think, in trending the market. I think we'll continue to see prices. We're also, some people I think look at things on like a national level. So not even just hyperlocal, we've got the space program. It's the Space Coast. It's booming. Even during COVID, when the rest of the world was shutting down, we were hiring people and we were doing Zoom interviews and Zoom showings. And so we just haven't slowed down. I don't expect our growth to slow down. So I think how could prices not continue to rise with the amount of people that want to live on the Space Coast? So I think we're in a great area.
I think, I've only lived here for about, only 16 years or so, but I've seen this place boom in the last decade or so.
For sure.
And we have not 1, not 2, not 3. I think we have 4 space programs at Kennedy now. I could be wrong. NASA has one, Blue Origins, SpaceX, and then there's
Space Force,
the Virgin Atlantic.
Yeah.
So we have a whole bunch of space programs. We have companies moving here. So this area is booming. I think Florida is booming in general. Sure. But yeah, we see normal appreciation happening this year, but prices up nonetheless. Right?
Correct.
Prices up nonetheless.
Definitely.
So I hear about that. Obviously, I'm a lender, so I hear about this all the time. But mortgage interest rates, how are you seeing them influence people's decision right now in the market?
Yeah, I think it's gotten a little better because I feel like things are a little more affordable. But definitely, it's one of the stifling blocks for a lot of buyers, which truly I believe is just a lack of education for them to understand what their options are. So on our team, we have a buyer's guide that we go through right from the beginning, and one of the first things we talk about is how important it is to get pre-approved, but also to just have a conversation with a good local lender that can help you understand what your options are. There's a lot of sellers now that are much more flexible about being willing to pay to help you buy down the rate, ask for closing costs, and a lot of buyers qualify for a higher purchase price than they think, but they need those closing costs, which is great. They can do the math, and if the payment makes sense for them financially, then awesome. So I think the benefit of a balanced market is buyers are allowed to ask for a little more. That is, sellers aren't going to be, immediately offended if you ask for closing costs. Like, don't be afraid to try to negotiate. And a top agent will have no issues, giving you some creative ideas on how to make that happen.
Yeah, it really takes a team to put the deal together sometimes.
Absolutely.
And having a strong lender partner, whether it's, we love it for BD Morgan Financial, but if you're out there, there are other lenders that can help the buyer understand their options, not just give them, take their order and give them whatever they're asking for, but give them the options that says, hey, listen, if instead of, asking for a lower price, maybe you go in at this price and offer, ask for closing costs to be paid, and we can use those closing costs to permanently buy down your rate.
Sure, absolutely.
And things like that to lower your expenses, because $10,000 on purchase price doesn't have the same effect as $10,000 depending on the purchase price you have. $10,000 in closing costs to help lower your rate and lower your monthly costs.
Absolutely.
Right?
And they think it's about the price of the house, and they want to get a deal, so they want to pay full price. But once they understand what it really matters, what they care about is the payment. Can they afford the property? Does it make sense monthly for them on a financial status? Like, that's what really matters, not the price that they buy. So a good lender can help them understand that as well.
Absolutely. And we do have a lot of smart people in this area, a lot of engineers who really crunch the numbers.
Yes.
And when you show them it's not all about the price, they pick that up right away.
For sure.
They're like, well, yeah, because when I do this, my monthly cost is going to be this. If I use this extra to buy down, and then they say, well, they put all the math together. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Absolutely.
I'll pay full price for that, and let me get this back and do this with it.
Absolutely.
So, what are the risks? We talk about the advantages to buying now, but what are the risks to buying later in the year or into 2026? Do you see the market shifting this year, or what do you all see from your perspective?
I do. I think the risk is certainly in the fall, we see less inventory. A lot of people, during the holidays, we have obviously a beautiful climate here, so it's not like we have a bad winter or something. Right. But at the end of the day, a lot of people just don't want to deal with selling their home, between Thanksgiving and even like maybe the second week of January. We kind of see things pick back up after kids go back to school.
Yep.
But spring and summer definitely seems like the best time to sell, meaning there's more options for buyers. So I think there could be decreased inventory if you wait. Also, obviously, you would know best, fluctuating rates.
Right.
I don't think we have a crystal ball to tell people exactly what it's going to be, but obviously you can always refinance. They'd say, what is it, that little phrase, date the rate, marry the house, something like that. Yeah. It's if the house makes sense and you love it and you can afford it, great. You can always change the rate later. I think there's also things like insurance costs, they continue to go up. So I feel like that is another predictor that we can't, determine what that's going to be like. And even hurricane season, we see rates go up during hurricane season. I've also had buyers that unfortunately, kind of waited to bind their insurance policy.
Oh,
and
that's
then,
the worst.
Yeah, we got a hurricane or even a named storm. They're like, hold everything.
Stop it all.
Abort mission. You're like, no. So yeah, I would say if you find the house that works for you, move on it.
Move on it.
Yeah.
There are deals still that come through, right?
Absolutely.
People aren't, completely discounting their houses, but there's deals. But if there's deals out there and you find a deal, there's stands to reason other people are going to see that too.
Absolutely.
And then, talking about the rates, I do predict this is a don't hold me to it. This is not a promise or a guarantee, but I
Sure.
do see rates not coming down a lot,
Yeah.
But if they come down a little, let's just pretend they did shoot down.
Right.
The amount of people that would flood into the market would drive pricing up.
100%.
So when you buy a house, if I bought today, I lock in the price of that home today.
Yep.
And when I when I get the loan, I'm locking in for 30 years, but like you said, I can refinance that loan later.
Absolutely.
Now there's a cost to that.
Yes.
But that cost is probably, if a $500,000 house goes up 10%, that's $50,000.
Right.
That's $50,000.
Yeah.
You can refinance a lot of times for $50,000.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what signs should buyers look for that indicate that it's a good time to act for them?
Yeah, I think they really just need to look at the properties that are available, get pre-approved so they understand, what their options are, and if they can afford it and they like it, move on it. I've had a lot of buyers that, especially first-time home buyers, they're often kind of, nervous to make a decision, and what if the third house we go in is the best house for them and it meets all their criteria, and they might be hearing from a parent or a friend going, well, you haven't seen enough houses, you need to see at least 25 houses, right? And you're like, wait a minute, this is like a good deal. It's priced right. The seller's motivated. It fits all your boxes. I wish people would just really trust the agent to go, hey, I don't ever want to sell somebody a property that they don't want. That would break my heart. I have a servant's heart above all else. But at the end of the day, when you've just had so many years of experience, you kind of know when this is a deal. This is what you want. Go for it, So I just think buyers should definitely be ready to act, which is all those steps in advance of, being pre-approved, running the numbers, and running multiple numbers. Hey, here's my budget, but what if I spend a little bit more or a little bit less? Where would my payment be? So that when the right property does come along, they're ready to go. And that'll put them above the competition as well. There's a lot of buyers out there, that have never talked to a lender and they're out shopping around and they're just going to figure it out when they find the house. And then they're a weekend before they can make an offer.
Right.
So.
It's funny. My wife is very decisive. Cars. I want that one. I'm like, babe,
I'd like her. I'm decisive too.
We haven't looked at all the. I'm one that likes to peruse all the options.
Right.
She's very quick. I'm very slow, and we usually do exactly what she wants to do because.
Oh, imagine that. How does that work?
But she's right. A lot of times, and that decisiveness will, in my opinion, will save you money in the long run.
For sure.
Because like you said, third house in. There is a common theme you've mentioned a couple of times. Is these outside voices.
Yes.
The parents, the friends.
Yes.
I'm doing air quotes here. Experts.
Chat GPT, who's now the best real estate expert on the planet. Yeah.
When you've seen the properties that they are looking for,
sure.
You've seen these properties. You've seen the inside of a lot of these homes. The neighborhoods. Yep. When they say I'm looking for this, it in your mind. You see it. They see it. They like it. But they want to see a few more properties.
Right.
And that's got to drive you nuts. But it's part of the process. But you're like, you're missing. You're going to miss out on this one.
It is, yes. And I understand it's an emotional process. It's very stressful for buyers. Right. But like I said, buyer education, I think, is the biggest thing. If they really understand the whole process from start to finish and they have a good idea of what's going to happen even after they find that house, then they have that confidence and that peace to go, this feels right. Let's go for it, you know? So
if someone does decide to wait, because I'm sure you've had those too.
Yep.
What should they be doing in the meantime to make sure they're prepared when they are ready, when they're done waiting?
Great question. Yeah. Don't go take out 45 credit cards and start racking up your debt. No, I always tell them to still talk to the lender. I have people talk to Mary here often, and she is so great at helping them understand the bigger picture of their finances down the road. I've had buyers that have paid things off, and they're so proud of themselves. They call me, I paid off my car, I paid off this, I paid off that. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Because a lot of times you just need to keep a steady financial profile from what I understand. I mean, you're more of an expert than I am in that area, but I think sometimes people make financial decisions that they think are going to be a benefit, and it does not end up that way. Or maybe they do need to work towards paying something off that, they thought, well, I have a low interest rate on my car, I'm just going to leave it. But your debt to income ratio doesn't make sense,
Sure.
So I think just talking to a top lender that can help them understand what their options are and really set them up with a timeline so they have a goal of when they want to be back into the market.
Yeah, I mean, that we see so many times. We hear buyers say, "Look, I'm looking, but I really don't want to buy for a year."
Sure.
And I'm like, they're going to write a contract in 2 weeks.
Yes, yes, it's so funny.
That's who writes a contract. But the point is that they say, well, I'm going to wait to get ready until I find the house. I'm going to wait but you might have missed the opportunity. Like, and we see it all the time in lending. And now people might be well put together, but they didn't know that this existed on their credit. Or they're well put together. They make a lot of money, but they have a lot of debt. They manage it. But we can help. I mean, Mary's very good at it. So, you know, our loan officers are very good at making sure that they see the whole picture. And what I don't want to happen is I saved all this money for my down payment, but now their credit card debt went from here to here, and they're like you said, their debt to income is going to knock them out. It's good to have this understanding, even if they're not going to buy for a year or 6 months, or until they find the right house, because we've seen it also where they didn't want to talk to us. They found the right house. Then they had to come back for a pre-approval letter, and the house was gone.
Absolutely.
And that stinks when you miss out on something that was perfect fit for you, and now you're going to be comparing everything else. It's like that third house. You're going to be comparing everything else to that third house. Just buy the third house.
Absolutely.
Whatever the first, second, third.
We have a buyer that's literally been looking for 2 years for a very specific floor plan in one neighborhood. And we missed the mark on the property because they just were not ready. They didn't think they had seen enough property. They thought it would just come around. The market shifted, and haven't been able to find it even now. So
probably have to build it.
Yes. And in the meantime, they're spending a ton of money on rent. Oof. So rent has continued to go up as prices have gone up in homes. You know, rent is not like it's capped here. Like, we're not in New York City where you're going to, you know, be able to have an option and potentially to know how much you're going to pay. I mean, it's like, we're just going to throw this up there and somebody will be willing to rent it. So people are really wasting a lot of money with renting.
Yeah, I see that all the time. It's like people are either waiting for rates to come down, and meanwhile they're paying rent and they're paying someone else's mortgage. And the amount of money they've spent that doesn't go to principal. I mean, when you pay a mortgage, even if the mortgage is the same as the rent, some of that money is going towards the equity of your home.
Absolutely.
And so you're double losing. You know, and the prices have gone up consistently the last 3 years. They've gone up.
They definitely have.
You know, I knew a guy, I still know him, in 2014. So we're talking 11 years ago. He says the market's going to crash. I'm going to wait till it crashes to buy a house. He's still waiting.
I was going to say, he'll be waiting a long time.
I don't want to tell him how much money he's lost, but he's lost a tremendous amount of money by doing that. So what advice, you know, there's the first-time home buyers, there's a lot out there. I mean, it's overall, there's a lot of cash buyers and there's a lot of repeat buyers. But, you know, first-time home buyers make up between 25 and 35% of the market, right? And what advice do you have for these first-time home buyers navigating this market?
Yeah, it can be a challenge, especially if you're up against cash buyers or things like that. But once again, there's a good amount of inventory. So I think you find the property that you can afford that meets your needs and understand the full process. Like, we're big on educating buyers on, you know, what it looks like out of pocket, money you need for inspections, appraisal, you know, what it costs to just have a home inspected. Like, I think buyer education is so important, even with not first-time home buyers. A lot of people think they understand the process or they're nervous about something. That's a misconception. They've got some bad information. So just having them work with a local lender and a top agent that can really educate them on the process and walk them through every step of the way, I think you're still in a good position. And like I said, we've been seeing really good deals out there. So I think if first-time home buyers, if they were nervous about the fact that they needed closing costs or something like that, I think that's less of an issue now for sure than it has been in past years. So they're in a good position. There's also a lot of people that owner occupy their home that really care about who gets the property. I had a listing that we priced it competitively in Cocoa Beach. We had multiple offers right away, but the offers weren't full price, so we went to a highest and best situation. My seller took an offer that was $7,500 less than another offer because she wanted to sell it to people that wanted to live in the home and have a family there and raise their kids, because it was a family home. Her dad had built it, and there was a lot of emotional connection there. So the, you know, financial realtor in me is like, this isn't smart, but what do I care about most? Her heart. Like, I wanted her to be happy with the purchase. I wanted her to feel good about selling her home. And I was thrilled for these buyers. I was like, good for you, because it could have gone to somebody that flipped it, did an Airbnb or something like that. And she was adamant that it was not about the money. It was about getting somebody that was going to love and appreciate that home. So I think first-time home buyers are always in a good position emotionally if a seller cares about the future of the property.
You know, that's funny because I'm sure you're conflicted as a realtor. You want to get the highest and best price for your seller,
yes,
right?
For sure.
But the seller, that's not what they wanted.
Right.
They wanted the right buyer for that home.
Absolutely. And as a realtor, it's a great reminder. It's not about us. It was humbling to me because I pride myself that I'm a pretty good negotiator. And so I'm like, we're going to get these other people up. We're going to get that top dollar, and I'm thinking of all these ways that I'm going to get the other buyer up. And the seller was like, Emily, it's okay. I don't want this. What I want is for them to get it. And this is the price. And I was like, are you sure? Because we can get more money. Because realtors, it's like ingrained in us, get them the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time.
Sure.
Right? That's like our goal for everything. And this was just a humbling experience for me to go, you know what? Even after 11 years, like I could be the top negotiator. What did my client need in that moment? She needed me to be there for her emotionally and agree with her that what mattered to her most is what should matter to me most. And it was just a good reminder for anybody that is a first-time home buyer. I think you might feel like you're the underdog in the situation, but there's a lot of sellers that would be so blessed to have somebody live in their home and raise their family. And so, I think that could be a benefit to them as well.
That is neat to hear because it is about, obviously it is about money.
Yes.
But it's about being about happy with your decision.
For sure. It's not everything. Some sellers, that means the most. To some sellers, it's you could close sooner than another buyer, right? So there's so many terms and conditions in a contract that are negotiable. And so I teach the agents on our team, like one of the first things you should do when you're getting ready to make an offer is just call the listing agent and say, hey, what's going on with this? What's important to the seller? Like what would be a win-win, And it's surprising. A lot of people will tell you exactly what you need to do. You're like, oh, great. Let me just write that down.
Sure.
So I think it's a people business above all else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People buy from people.
For sure.
Well, good. So this has been great. I've really enjoyed this. So just to wrap it up, do you have any final thoughts for those that might be on the fence maybe, or things that they should look at or consider? Any final thoughts for those people?
I would just say you'll regret it if you wait, because unless you're moving somewhere else where I don't know the market, I feel like if you're going to be in Brevard, you will regret it the longer that you wait. So don't make a rash decision about buying something that doesn't fit the boxes. But when you find the right property, I think a lot of people just end up, making the wrong decision to keep waiting, thinking something better is going to come along, or like you said, thinking rates are going to go way down. I think there's enough data out there to know that we're in a stable market. Prices are going to continue to go up. Rates may come down a little bit, but is that going to be enough to really change their, payment to the point where they would literally not pick a house that they love? Probably not. So I would say when it's the right property, move forward if you're pre-approved and financially prepared.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
You.
I love it. Well, great. Well, thank you very much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yep. So thank you all very much. Don't forget, if you've made it this long, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like. And I'm going to put Emily's information down below. So if you need expert realtor advice in Brevard County, reach out to Emily and her team. I'm sure they'd love to help you.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you later.
Guys.